Get ready to tune in, turn back the dial, and rediscover the airwaves of yesteryear. This is Echoes from the Past, your backstage pass to the shows that changed everything.
When you think about wartime entertainment, the golden era of radio might not immediately come to mind. But there was this show, Counterspy. It was revolutionary for its time. Debuting back in 1942, it aired on the NBC Blue Network, and later on ABC and Mutual. It brought the tension and drama of counterintelligence right into living rooms during the height of World War II. Now, Counterspy wasn't just another detective show. It followed the heroic efforts of David Harding, a character who led the United States Counterspies, a unit working against Japan's Black Dragon and Germany's Gestapo. Imagine tuning in at the time, hearing these suspenseful battles against espionage unfold. It must have been riveting for audiences during a period of such global uncertainty. I gotta tell you, my introduction to Counterspy wasn't through history books or even, dusty old recordings online. It's kind of a funny story. Years ago, I was helping my grandfather clean out his attic, and there they were, old tapes of radio shows he'd recorded. Among them, a whole stack dedicated to Counterspy. I remember popping one in, hearing that signature introduction, and I was hooked. The mix of tension, storytelling, and even a little melodrama, it just transported me to another era. I can still hear my grandfather laugh and say, "That was my podcast before podcasts." Back then, this show wasn't just entertainment. It was part of the war effort, too. It raised awareness and fostered a sense of vigilance among its listeners. The scripts were crafted to include wartime messaging, kind of like a subtle reminder of the stakes at hand. While the plots were fictional, many of the themes and scenarios mirrored real events of espionage and sabotage, drawing people into this fascinating mix of authenticity and drama. Some of the most memorable episodes of Counterspy were those that blended imaginative storytelling with these, almost shockingly real insights into wartime tactics. Take the case of the tattooed eye, for example. A plot that was as captivating as it was chilling. It told the story of a spy whose secret identity was literally embedded into a tattoo. That kind of detail, it wasn't just thrilling, it also echoed the kind of covert strategies that were being used during World War II. And then there's the case of the magic murder. The title alone gets you intrigued, right? But once you start listening, you realize it wasn't just about some over-the-top hypothetical. It tied into the broader fears about saboteurs, enemies lurking in plain sight, using misdirection to further their own agendas. It's like a perfect example of how the show made espionage relatable and kept listeners, on their toes. What's really cool about these episodes is how they managed to balance entertainment with this underlying purpose. By dramatizing conflicts that mirrored real-life events, Counterspy brought this sense of urgency and awareness to its audience. You weren't just following fictional characters, you were being reminded of the real danger out there during the war. It gave a sense of purpose to the drama unfolding over the airwaves. And honestly, I think there's a lot we can learn from that now. Today's podcasters could really take a page out of Counterspy's playbook. It's all about telling stories that entertain, but also challenge listeners to think beyond the narrative, to engage with the world in a more meaningful way. These episodes were more than just gripping tales of espionage. They were reflections of the time, a kind of cultural artifact that preserved what people feared, hoped for, and valued during that era. So, what is it about Counterspy that still resonates with people today? Here we are, decades later, and the show continues to hold its place. Not just as a relic of the past, but as something that still feels, relevant. I think a big part of it lies in its accessibility. Being classified as both clean and part of the kids and family genre means, it was meant for everyone. Families could gather around and, share in that suspenseful storytelling together. It was both thrilling and safe for all ages, which, honestly, isn't something you find a lot of these days. And think about this. How many shows today can claim that kind of cross-generational appeal? Counterspy was tapping into a unique balance, combining mature themes like espionage and counterintelligence with this tone that made it feel, approachable. You could have a kid fascinated by the action while the adults mulled over the subtler wartime messages embedded in the plots. It made for a rich listening experience that worked on multiple levels. Now, here's where I think it gets interesting. Imagine taking the essence of Counterspy, the suspense, the intrigue, the connection to real-world events, and bringing it into modern podcasting using AI. I mean, what if we could recreate that same layered storytelling? AI tools today are kind of like, well, your own assistant scriptwriter. They can help craft intricate narratives that echo, the brilliance of those 1940s scripts, but tailored for the kind of audience we have now. There's so much potential to use technology, not to replace creativity, but to enhance it, to make stories more immersive, maybe, or to help voice actors recreate the feel of those iconic performances from the golden era of radio. It's about respecting the past while finding new ways to bring that magic forward. And hey, isn't that what Counterspy itself was all about? Taking current events and weaving them into stories that felt alive and exciting? At the end of the day, it's that sense of connection that keeps Counterspy alive. Whether it's a family listening together back then or modern creators drawing inspiration from its legacy today, it's clear this show did something right, something timeless. And that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the airwaves of the past. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the classic radio shows that shaped generations and left a lasting legacy. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Echoes from the Past. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to share it with fellow fans of history, storytelling, and vintage radio magic. Until next time, keep your dial set to the golden era and let the echoes of the past remind us of the timeless power of radio.